So if I'm in a boat and it's sitting on the surface of the ocean, everything that is above the ocean represents my conscious mind. So if I can see another boat, if I can see a bird, if I can see an island, if I can see clouds, they are things I am consciously aware of. So for example, what do I know about myself? I know that I love chocolate. I know that I have hazel eyes. I know that I was born in Beirut. So these are 3 things that I know about myself. They represent the cloud, the boat, the bird. What's underneath the ocean? There could be shipwreck, there could be Dory, there could be Nemo, there could be sharks, there could be dolphins. I can't actually see what's underneath the surface. I can't. That represents my subconscious. You don't know what's in the subconscious mind. Otherwise, it would be conscious. So I can't tell you what's in mine. I gave you what's in my conscious, can't give you what's in my subconscious. Why is this important? If I'm sitting in a boat and this boat doesn't have sails, doesn't have an engine, and I don't have any oars, no paddles. It's just an empty vessel sitting on the water. If I want to move in a certain direction, and let's say that direction represents all of my goals. I want to have a huge law firm, for example. If I was a solicitor, I want to have 10 kids and I want to have an 8-pack, whatever it might be. If I really want to go there, am I going to go there because I want to, or am I going to go where the current's taking me?
I'm not a captain, but I'd argue where the current's going.
Yeah, and is the current above the surface or underneath?
Below.
Yeah. A lot of people think it's above, but it's actually underneath the water. So if my current, which is coming from under the water, is going in that direction, I'll go that direction. I'll be cheering. I'll be really happy. If the current's going the opposite direction, as hard as I try, I might get some gains, but I'm going the other direction. And I'm going to be really, really upset. Something in me that's going that way.
Yep.
Even though I want to go that way.
So we're at the mercy of our subconscious?
There's a saying by Carl Jung, one of the fathers of psychotherapy, until we make the subconscious conscious, it will forever direct our lives and we will call it fate. But he says until we make the subconscious
Key
conscious.
caveat.
Yeah. So once we are aware of something, we can actually change it. And there are processes we can do to change that core belief, to process that core belief. But I haven't even gotten into what that is yet. I've gotten ahead of myself. So the next thing to ask is, well, what's the current? Why is it going that way? And if we go scuba diving and we go, what is the current made up of? And the current is made up of these cognitions, of these core beliefs. An imagery I like to use is if people have watched the Pixar movie Inside Out.
Such a great movie. For anyone who hasn't watched it, put it on your to-do list straight after this episode.
Yes, 100%. It's great imagery to use for so many different reasons, but just if we're going to go to the core beliefs element, the memories in her brain being balls, and using that visual of going, okay, these are like little memory clusters, little balls that are in there. And one thing to keep in mind, I keep smacking this microphone. One thing to keep in, I talk with my hands, I'm Lebanese. One thing to keep in mind is memories that we have. That's what core beliefs are. So the core beliefs in the subconscious, they are memories that we may or may not be able to recall. But these memories are not based on truth. These memories are based on perception. Let's say I'm 4 years old and my mum's trying to fall pregnant and she's struggling and she finally does fall pregnant, and then 6 months in she has a miscarriage and then she goes into a deep depression. My perception as a 4-year-old is mum got a bit chubby, then she got sad, now she gives me no hugs. So this memory is going to have 2 parts. It's going to have a meaning that I've attributed to it and a feeling or a sensation that my little body has felt. The meaning is probably I'm not lovable, or if we go to what you brought up earlier, I'm not enough. There's something in me lacking. And then the feeling could be shame, because there's a distinction between shame and guilt. Guilt is a feeling about an action that we've done. Shame is a feeling about ourselves intrinsically, like there's something actually wrong with me as a being. So I'm most likely feeling shame, and the meaning is I'm lacking, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm unlovable. It's complete BS. It's not true. It's my perception that I was a 4-year-old. And that is now in my subconscious mind. Let's say I'm having a meeting with a potential investor or something like that. I want to expand, have a really big firm. At this meeting, I may be feeling like I am enough. So it's on a conscious level, I do believe I'm enough. I do believe that I'm worthy. But the subconscious doesn't. So on a conscious level, I'm thinking I'm enough, this meeting's going great, etc., etc. The subconscious is raging He's saying, no, you're not deserving of this. You're not enough. And it wants to prove itself to be true. So what is the mechanism of sabotage? It's going to go on a search and destroy mission through my subconscious brain, looking for different neural networks I already have. I'll be in that meeting and I'm feeling absolutely awesome. This is great. I feel like I'm killing it. And all of a sudden, this cheeky little thought pops from my subconscious into my conscious mind of, this person's lying to me. And then I'm going to try and validate that thought. I'm going to look for evidence to back it up. Yeah, their eyes went a bit dodgy. They looked to the side when they said that. Or their voice, the tonality just changed a little bit. And then I'm going to change my demeanor towards them. I might start being a bit, I don't know. Standoffish, maybe a bit confrontational. And then we might have, a rupture in that connection. And then I'll follow through with, now we're not talking, and now I'm feeling, I wasn't enough. On a conscious level, I'm not happy. On a subconscious level, I am. See, told you you're not enough. So that's the mechanisms of sabotage.
Everything that you currently have in your reality is just reflecting to you what's inside. And that can be really hard for people to hear when their reality isn't what they want. But that's what's so cool, because it's like, oh my God, I actually have so much control. And obviously it doesn't happen overnight, but if you can just start getting curious and being like, okay, well, what current identity points are related to my reality? And then you go into, well, who do I want to be and what are their beliefs? What are their identity points? How do they think about themselves? If you have this goal where you're like, I want to be a multi-million-dollar business owner, do you think they take themselves seriously? Do you think they show up on time? Do you think they take meetings a certain way? Do you think they prioritize their self-care? Like all those sorts of things. That's all it is. The way that I would describe it is most of us think that, even I remember growing up with the beliefs of like, you can't change who you are at your core. Like your personality traits, who you are, you can't, change who you are. And then I thought also it's like we all were kind of just given this life and it's like some people were lucky and some people weren't. That's just not true. You can absolutely you could become a completely different person tomorrow, and then the result of that is you would have a different reality. So a concept, I'll come round to the identity work, but a concept I talk about in the work that I teach is quantum leaping. So it's like, it's a bit of a buzzword too in TikTok. It's like how to manifest and quantum leap. And basically, very simply, quantum leaping is just you going from one timeline to another. And so the only reason that you're currently in this timeline with the people around you, with the job you have, with how much you're earning, with how you feel, is a direct correlation with your identity and your belief system. So if you want to change that, if you want to have a different reality, if you want to quantum leap, is you need to change your identity and your belief system. So the identity work is basically the biggest work that you can do is inner child work, where you go back to what are the beliefs I hold that are keeping me in my current reality. Let's say you're someone who's like, I'm always late. And so you would identify as I'm someone who's always late. So if that is in your subconscious, no matter if you try and be early, I guarantee you something will pop up. You'll get a flat tire. Things will happen. And that's because the universe is always, or spirit, God, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to believe in, is always reflecting back to you whatever your beliefs are. Our reality is just a mirror.
It really is the deep work. And I've worked with a therapist, but she really opened my mind on the neuroscience side of things. And so what you're saying from a more spiritual point of view, when you're talking about manifesting, about the conscious and the subconscious, a really simple way she explained it to me was, imagine you're in a boat and you've got oars and you're trying to go a certain way. Are you going to go the way you want to go or the way the current's taking you? Right? So the current represents your subconscious beliefs. So if you think I'm always a late person, and you're trying to go on time, you're gonna be fighting against where the current's going, which is actually your subconscious belief. So investigating that, going beneath the surface, it's hard because it's not conscious to you, right? It's in the subconscious, but you can do it with a lot of deep reflection.
One of the most powerful things that we can adapt in life is having a growth-based mindset rather than a fixed base mindset. So a fixed mindset is saying that I'm only capable of this. So it's like fixing your potential. So you are talking about things in limitations. Whereas a growth-based mindset is opening yourself up for growth and for opportunity to be able to do things. You can expand, you can improve, realizing that everything can be improved through practice, through showing up, through putting in time and effort and energy. And I think a lot of the time when it comes to abundance and scarcity, a lot of people feel scarcity because they have a fixed base mindset on areas where they really realize that actually you could have a growth-based mindset. They think, well, my income is fixed, my life is fixed, this is just how things are. And I would like to challenge you and say that you might have a fixed income right now, but does that mean you're always going to have a fixed income? No, right? Money is fluid. Money is always changing and expanding. It is water, right? It's currency. It's a current. It's always moving. When you think about money, think about water. It is something that is always in flux. And when you realize that you can do many different things in order to generate more money, you can start investing. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You can start investing with anything. You can start investing with $1, right? And then you could say, I've started investing. You do not have to be a millionaire to start investing, right? You can start doing these little things where you are right now. You could start a side hustle. You could start learning a skill that eventually could make you more money. You could upskill yourself and then potentially get a promotion. There are all of these things you could do. So when you realize that you can actually grow in that area, that's so exciting. So that's fixed and growth mindset. And the next thing I would ask people to do is say, okay, you're in whatever situation you are and you feel like there's no one around you that is inspiring or elevating or in an abundance mindset, and you're feeling that kind of tall poppy syndrome. I would say, who can you find that is elevating? Who has a growth mindset in the area that you want to grow in? This can be people dead or alive that you can get access to through books, programs, podcasts, courses, conversations. Go and find someone that you feel is really inspiring and become their friend. And when I say become their friend, most of my friends have never met me. They're books and they're YouTubers. These are people that never met me. I have such a good friendship with them. It's a parasocial relationship. It's one-sided, but hey, I know how they think. I know how they process things. I know so much about them, and I have adapted their mindset, and they've inspired me and influenced me in so many ways, because I realized that I don't have to have a physical connection with someone to be able to be impacted by them.
Some days after work are for folding the laundry and replying to emails, and others are for making very important plans with your couch and a tub of London dairy ice cream. Because balance isn't just about getting things done. It's about knowing when to pause and create moments too. So if today's felt like a lot, consider this your sign to cancel the chores tonight and claim your moment with me. We've earned it.
And from my community, I have a lot of people who talk to me about, how did you take the leap? Like, how did you make that change? How did you believe in yourself? And it came down to one thing, and that was, which fear do I choose? So there were two fears. The first was, oh my gosh, but if I leave, I have a solid salary here. So financially I was covered. It was my comfort zone. I knew it day in, day out. I had a routine with it. The third was, this was your dream. Are you going to let go of your dream? I was holding on to that fear of, but the unknown, what's going to happen next? And then that was one side of the fear. The second side of the fear was, okay, but are you still going to be here in 5 years' time? Are you still going to feel undervalued in 5 years' time? Are you still going to be saying to yourself, oh, Nimi, why are you here? Are you still going to be getting out of bed every morning feeling like it's more of a chore than a spring in your step? And that fear outweighed the fear before. I was so scared of staying stagnant that any fear I felt about leaving and taking the leap was just irrelevant to me, because I was like, I would rather look back and say, I'm so proud you tried, than, oh, I'm so proud you stayed in your little comfort box and, shied away from your potential. Yeah. So if anyone is feeling like they're in that kind of period and scared to kind of take the next step, I would say, weigh out your fear. Which one scares you more? Because for me, it was definitely the latter.
That is such a powerful question. And in a very similar vein, a question you could also ask is, which discomfort do you want to choose? It's a very similar question, because the reality is it's uncomfortable not pursuing things that you dream about or things that you wish you wanted to do. And it's also uncomfortable pursuing them because you're, dealing with potentially not feeling like you're worthy to do it, and self-doubt and the uncertainty and all of that. But then the flip of that is actually just not doing it at all, never trying, never knowing, and being stuck in something that maybe is not setting your heart on fire. So I think just being really honest with yourself, like I feel like this is one of those things where if you get that feeling like you described it in your bones, I know that feeling. It's happened, you know, iconic moments in my life where in that moment you have I think it's like twofold. You have that feeling and you acknowledge what's going on, and then it's the action piece. Yeah. And that's obviously the hardest part. But getting raw with yourself, I think, is the most actionable thing you can do, because it helps you see what you're like at a fork in a road, right? And it's like, okay, which one do I want to go for? So I think that's really good advice for anybody listening. And really you can apply that to any juncture or crossroad in your life with anything, relationships, decisions with your health, like, you know what I mean? Like pick your fear or pick your discomfort.
100%. And I would say that your body tells you exactly what you want. And this is something that I've kind of learned to listen to. We talk about listening to our mind and our heart all the time, but our body is so aligned with us in the sense that if I feel something in my bones, that term exists for a reason, right? Because you feel it in your core, in your gut. I have a 5-second rule where I'm like, okay, as soon as I feel something, I hold on to that, because in 5 seconds, my mind's going to start convincing me of otherwise. My mind's going to start convincing me, no, don't leave, because what about money? What about this? What about stability? What about, but you want to be able to afford, a house next year. How are you going to be able to do that? All these little elements of life that come through, the extras that really don't contribute to your core, your mind convinces you otherwise of what your body tells you. So I set a 5-second rule. As soon as I have thought and felt something, I instantly am aware that my mind's going to kick in any second, and I need to hold that piece. I need to hold that core gut feeling I'm getting. I need to hold on to that. And I would say that a lot of us avoid it. A lot of us ignore it because it's probably the easiest thing to do. And so that kind of discipline has really changed the game for me in decision making and taking these kind of leaps.
We need people in our lives. We need people to show up. We need people to meet our needs. The question is, are they the right people for us? So when you were younger, you didn't have a choice about who the adults in your life were.
Sure.
Now as an adult, you do. But for some reason, you chase after people who mimic, in many ways, the same patterns, the same characteristics that the adults that you actually depended on have. And this is something I talk about in The Only Constant and in Welcome Home, where I say, you try to change one ending so that you could change the ending of the story. So if the story that always chased you when you were younger was, I'm not good enough, because the adults in my life constantly make me feel like I have to do things in order for me to have those labels of smart and intelligent and whatever, and beautiful and all that stuff. So in your adult years, you chase after similar people, hoping that those people who in your mind are just projections of the people that you were trying to please when you were younger. And you think, if I can change the way that this new person sees me and treats me, then that ending of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, whatever, will change. And that's why in our adult years, you find people in relationships where they really struggle with the ending of the relationship. And they're like, well, if only I could get that person back, if only I could get them to see me in a different way, if only I could, then my life would be better. But it's not really about the person that the relationship is ending with. It's about you wanting to change the belief that now manifested in this new person who is really just a copy of an adult from a younger year, and probably a copy of many adults that you met in your adult years, where you thought, if I could change that person's opinion of me or the way they treat me, then this opinion will change. I can't let go of this person. I can't let go of this partner. I can't let go of this friend. I can't let go of this family member because I couldn't let go when I was younger. But this is where you need to remind yourself that you are now a full-grown adult and you can make your own decisions and you can cut people off and you can set boundaries. And if your belonging to that person or to their life or to that group of people is dependent on you abandoning yourself, on you constantly making compromises and sacrifices, if your presence in their life, if your welcome in their life is dependent on you putting on a show and pretending to not be hurt by certain things just so that they don't walk away, that's not the right person for you, regardless of what position that person holds. They could be a boss, they could be a friend, they could be someone who's been in your life since the moment you were born. This is the time to not trade in who you really are for them welcoming you. Because if you are not yourself in that relationship, then are they really welcoming you or are they welcoming who they want you to be? That's still not you. You're still not feeling loved. You're still not feeling respected. So 2 truths can be true, that we as adults need attachment and belonging, and that we as adults don't need attachment and belonging with every single person who walks into our lives.
Yeah, those are very, very powerful. And if we just flip the last thing you said, it's also true that if you're in a position or relationship where you don't feel loved or you don't feel seen as who you are, then you're constantly going to be attracting people who view you in that light.
Yes.
And as you were talking, I was just reflecting, actually quite fittingly, one belief I had growing up was that I wasn't good enough, right? So this whole conversation has really resonated with me. And it's not, it's something I've worked through now and I'm comfortable like talking about, and I can still see it come up in different aspects of my life, but I have a lot more grace for it now because I understand where it comes from and its need. But what was really interesting, I'd say up until I was about 19, I had a string of relationships, both romantic and friendships, with people who made me feel like I wasn't good enough. They would, through their actions, through the way they would talk to me, I'd always be left in that feeling. And it was really interesting that I kept attracting these people into my life that created and hit on the same nerve. And like you were saying before, like where we call it an addiction because it brings us back to that limiting, the belief, right, that we hold. But in the same vein, holding a belief or getting a belief affirmed produces an emotion, right? So we're always chasing this cycle of ending up in the same emotion. And some people might think, well, I'm not addicted to not feeling good enough. That's strange. But the simple primal thing there is that it's familiar to you and we chase what's comfortable.
Yes.
So it's really interesting to just unmask and distinguish, right? Like what is true for you and not, and to actually take power and control back as an adult to say, okay, as a child, maybe I didn't choose these things. I didn't pick these people. I didn't want these experiences, but you've had them and now you have a choice. And I like the whole way to replace those current relationships or those current addictions with healthier ones by simply subbing out people, right? By making space for people that look at you differently. And that's, I think, what happened to me around 19, 20, where I had different friendships. I met my husband when I was 20 and we've been together almost 10 years now, so that gave me the space to attract people who loved me for who I was, not for what I did for them.
Yes.